Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Containeritos podcast. The podcast is sponsored by PortPro, the leading operating system for drayage carriers. Schedule a demo today at portpro.io. In the studio today, we have the founder of GI Logistics, Israel Gonzalez. Welcome.
How you doing, man?
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
Let us know a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I am the owner of GI Logistics. We are a small trucker, under 20 trucks. We've been operating since November 2014. Still trying to make it through this hard times.
Look, feel free to move it around here. Get a little closer.
A little closer.
Yeah.
All right.
Great. All right. Let's. I like to ask the guest about who started at the beginning. A little bit of your childhood, if you wouldn't mind sharing. What was it like for Israel coming up?
I grew up in Morelia, Michoacan. I was born in 1973, so it's been a while. I was born to a single mother. I never met my father. My mother migrated to the U.S. when I was 5 years old. She came to the U.S. to give me and my family a better life. 8 years later, she brought me over to the U.S. I came to visit, and then she asked me if I wanted to stay. And life in Mexico at that short age was still, even though I was young, I was able to determine that I would have a better future here. So I opted for accepting my mom's offer to come move here, and here we are.
Well, she proposed it. Like, hey, should we go?
Actually, she came first.
Mm-hmm.
Then she got married, and she offered if I wanted to come live with her. Okay. Obviously, I wanted to live with her. She was going to start a family, and I said yeah. So came here, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm. And what's your favorite memory from that time?
When I first came here, I was very scared about learning the language. You know, that was like the biggest thing, not knowing English, the culture. The best memory is pretty much all of junior high. I got here in the middle of the 7th grade. I was set back a year because I didn't speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
So I was set back a year, but as Mexico, the school in Mexico is a little bit more advanced. So I was a rock star with every other class, but I had like 4 classes of ESL. English as second language.
Okay.
And that entire time of junior high was probably like my happiest that I can remember. That's when I, obviously culture shock from Mexico to the U.S. I was trying to fit in with the kids that were born here, also with the kids that also migrated here. We were a little bit different. A lot of people that come from like the smaller cities or like from the country. I came from like a little city as well, so I was kind of like a city kid trying to mingle with a bunch of people from all over Mexico. I'd never been outside of where I was born, so it was definitely a learning experience, man. I learned the culture. I got to learn the language. Growing up, 13, 14, 15 years old, so that's when you're kind of discovering yourself as well.
What's the first thing you saw and you're like, whoa, this is different?
They give you food. They give you breakfast and lunch.
Oh.
At school. In Mexico, they don't. You got to pay. If you don't have money, you don't eat.
Okay.
There's no school programs that give you food or school supplies. None of that. In Mexico, it's whatever you can come up with. Is whatever resources you have is pretty much what you got. So pretty much the help that you come here and you get help pretty much for everything. It really is up to you what you do with it,
Yeah. You think a lot of people take that for granted?
100%.
Yeah, like
100%.
you have to give it to us type of mentality.
A lot of, remember when the caravans were coming up the last couple of years coming from Central America, there was people complaining about the food that they were being given at the shelters.
Oh, yeah, I heard of that, yeah.
You got to be grateful for, if people offer you a little bit of food, whatever it is, even if you don't like it, I mean, you're hungry, right? You're coming to another country, so you got to be grateful for whatever they give you, man. I mean, people definitely take it for granted.
My tortilla was cold.
Yeah.
What did you want to be growing up over there?
When I was in Mexico, man, my grandma always told me that I should be a doctor because doctors make a lot of money. So I kind of wanted to be a doctor, but in her, out loud, I wanted to be a doctor, but silently, I wanted to be an airplane pilot.
Oh, crazy how easily influenced we can be at
Yes,
that age. Like,
programmed.
you should be this. Okay, I just want to please you.
Yep, pretty
Right.
much.
And then when you got here with another perspective, did that change at all? What you
Yes.
really wanted to be?
Yes. When I got here, the sky was the limit, man. I mean, once I learned the language, I started seeing what this country can offer, and you pretty much can be whatever you want as long as you stick by it. As long as you have the grades, as long as you do most of everything right, you can pretty much do whatever you want. But it definitely changed. I definitely wanted to fly airplanes for sure.
I'm sorry, your expensive jewelry is making a lot of noise.
Let me take the jacket off.
What?
Let me take the jacket
The
off.
jacket was expensive too.
No, so I think it's what's making the loudest noise. Sorry.
Es la pulsera, de.
Think so?
Yeah.
Let me take it off.
Raw and uncut, guys. Let's go.
There you go. There it is, bro.
So you were saying, before I rudely interrupted?
No worries. You asked me if people take that help for granted. Yes, 100%. I think that when we first came, we take the help, and we're extremely motivated to do something with a now newfound opportunity here in the States. And after we are able to land a job, we start, making ends meet, and we obviously live better than we lived, whatever country we come from. I think that we get complacent, stagnant, and we forget about what it is that we were chasing. And you see it in the stats, how many people actually make it, how many people start their own businesses, how many people get out of the ghetto, get out of the projects. I grew up a block away from the projects, man. It was rough.
Well, some people make it and they seem to keep coming back. Why do you think that is?
They come back and they live there, they stay there, you mean? Or
Yeah, like in that lifestyle.
I don't know.
Well, I guess that question stems from maybe like the whole like rap culture and stuff. Like the rappers that come out, and they come back and they get killed where it's just fucked up.
Yep. Kind of like the game. The game still lives in Compton, I think, or Carson, wherever he's from.
Yeah, I guess that could
pretty
go
much
like a whole
different?
nother. Pero, yeah. So you had that goal to get out of that.
Yes.
And
yes. In Mexico, I grew up obviously poor.
but compared to Mexico, it wasn't that ghetto then, right? Well, no disrespect.
No.
Ghetto can be an
Not at
offensive
all.
word to some
Not at
people
all.
in 2023. But I mean, like, you would think because you came here, it's a whole different. Like what we consider ghetto here to someone over there where it really is ghetto might think it's a nice.
It's because here when we say ghetto, we're referring to the hood, to being poor where you grew up. In Mexico, where you grow up being poor isn't necessarily the ghetto. It's just a community with limited needs.
Yes.
With limited means, I'm sorry. Here, if you're poor, people are robbing, people are, there's gangbangers, there's all this criminal activity going on. And the ghetto here is related to being of limited means at times. Was it worse over here than there? I mean, I grew up in Morelia, which is a small city of Mexico. It wasn't ghetto where I grew up, but obviously we were definitely poor. But I didn't see the crime that you do see here in East LA, growing up in East LA, where you're coming back from school and you get robbed for your chain or jumped for your shoes. I didn't grow up seeing that where I come from. But it was also very...
Did something like that happen to
humble.
you here?
Actually, yes. When I was in high school, I'm getting off the bus. I went to Roosevelt High. And I'm getting off the bus. I had to ride the bus to school. And as soon as I get off the bus, there was this gangbanger right outside the bus, right off the steps. And he reaches in and grabs my chain, like a little gold chain I had since I was a little baby. And he tries to rip it. I grabbed his hand. And, anyways, tug of war, blah, 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 blah. I grabbed it and I took off running because he was with 3 or 4 of
You saved the chain?
Homies, I saved the chain, dude. It scared the hell out of my neck when he pulled it. When he yanked it off, from my hands. I had to pull it off him. He pulled it off me, and I took it back from him. But I got it back.
Nice. Yeah. Where is it now?
I don't know where it's at, dude, to be honest with you. But I did save it.
For that moment.
Yep.
Cool. So let's fast forward to, maybe it's too much of a leap, but trucking, or was there a job in between that you want to talk about before you jump into the trucking world?
Yes.
Okay.
When I came here, I obviously went to junior high school. I was a little bit lost, man. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I had a ton of potential, but we didn't have the means to send me to school. I did have good grades, but because of ignorance and because of where I went to school, I don't think that the school counselors spent enough time doing their job. So I wasn't aware of all the help that was out there for people with good grades. I applied for some scholarships. I did get them. But I didn't have the means to, for example, go to UCLA and be able to live on campus. We didn't have a car for me to commute every day, so college wasn't an option for me. So I had to join the service. That was my only way out. My only way to not only get out of my house, get a job, but just kind of like go away and kind of figure out what it is that I wanted to do.
What branch?
I went to the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
And I was there. I went in from 92 till 2000. So a little bit close to 8 years.
What did you do there?
I fixed, I was an AT. What they do is they fix radar and radio communications. And then I switched ranks because I couldn't go up in rank. Rank means money. So I switched to aviation maintenance administration, which is pretty much you work in an office. I managed the maintenance that is given to the airplanes. You manage the aircraft logbooks, the engines, the wings, all the components that require log entries. I managed that, and I was able to move up in rank pretty quick. And higher rank means more money. That's pretty much what that meant. So I was a young kid with high rank, making decent money. I mean, loving life, living it up, man. I never had anything. So when I was in the service, I had money, I had a place to stay, I had a job, rain or shine, I got paid, regardless. So it was a good foundation for me to kind of like start a new life, I guess. Mm-hmm. Starting my life again, for a second time after migrating to the U.S.
At that point, you had a family yet or no?
No, not yet. I'm single.
Okay.
I'm 19 years old when I joined the service. I was stationed I went to boot camp in San Diego, but I was stationed in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. I was there for 4 years. It was great, man. My very first I was stationed on a seagoing command. What that means is I was on a squadron that was attached to an aircraft carrier. So whenever the aircraft carrier was summoned to go to Europe, it brings its air wing. The air wing are all the different squadron types, the fighters, the attackers, the radar airplanes. I belonged to a radar squadron. So whenever the ship has to get ready, start trials to go on a 6-month Mediterranean cruise, you got to practice. You practice about 9 months to be ready for that 6-month cruise. So you get to travel a lot, man. You go to the Virgin Islands a lot, Puerto Rico, Key West. You do a lot of detachments within the country as well. You go to Texas, New Mexico, Nevada. You do a lot of training, dude. So I got a chance to travel, see the country. It was great.
What are they practicing when they're those 9 months?
9 months. What we do is we go out to sea, mm-hmm. and the crew, the ones that work on the ship, we work on being able to land the airplanes. I worked on the flight deck, so
like the guys with the stuff that kind of
yes, directing the airplanes. Okay. Some start the airplanes, some fuel them, some are mechanics, some are just traffic directors, and some are catapult launchers. To be able to work on the flight deck, you got to know everybody's job. You have to know where you're standing at any point on the ship, because if you have, at times you are launching airplanes, in the front, and you are recovering, which means landing aircraft at the same time, dude. And there's
While that shit's floating around and
the ship is sailing. You got airplanes landing. You got airplanes taking off, and you got this massive amount of people, 100, couple hundred guys, but walking around on the flight deck while all this is going on. So you have to know your job, and you have to know everybody else's job. You got to know how the exhaust works on every single airplane, so you know how to walk around the aircraft carrier. Because if you're behind an F-14, which are no longer, those F-14s are decommissioned now. But if you walk behind an F-14 versus an A6, the exhaust hits you on the feet different. So you have to know how each airplane works, so that your feet don't get swept up and you end up, close to an intake, and the airplane swallows you up and you're done, buddy. So you have to know everybody's job. You have to know your job, and you gotta be alert 100%. There's no time to be sleepy or tired or distracted or I didn't know or nobody taught me. It's your life.
Do the headphones today bring back memories?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I
just had that vision right now.
You wear earplugs, foamies. You stick them in, and then you do the Mickey Mouse ears. So it's a double hearing protection.
Wow,
that's crazy.
And yet, did it impact you regardless? Your hearing?
The hearing. Well, funny you say that. Lately, I've kind of. I think I noticed in my hearing, and when I say lately, the last 10 years, like a little bit of ringing, a little bit of something. I used to sleep right under. I used to sleep on the third floor, right where the airplanes land on the carrier.
Oh.
And for an airplane to land on such a small runway, they use arresting wires.
Okay.
These are some wires that are about that thick. And it's 4 of them. So when the airplane is coming in, it has a tail hook. So when the airplane comes in, it has a hook that when it lands, it grabs one of the 3 or 4 arresting wires. And when the hook grabs it is what holds the airplane from taking off. And I used to sleep on the berthing on the room that is right under where the airplanes land on the flight deck. And every time an airplane lands on the flight deck, I mean, I don't know how much an airplane weighs, bro, but it slams on the deck. You gotta be reminded that the ship is moving, and you're out to sea, so it's bobbing.
Sometimes there might be a lot of force. Sometimes it might land with ease.
Sometimes they land with ease, but sometimes they slam with everything they got, dude. And you hear that all night long. But you sleep with the foamies, and it helps you a lot. I mean, I got most of my hearing. I think I got all my hearing. I think But yeah.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well so far.
Right.
And then honorably discharged?
Honorably discharged.
Okay.
I had to extend 3 more years.
Okay.
To come to California because I didn't have a job. I wanted I didn't want to get out of the service and not have something to land on. I couldn't rely on my parents to go back home. I didn't want to go back home.
Backwards.
Yeah, I didn't want to go backwards. I didn't want to go back home and kind of feel like I was stuck there, So I extended 3 more years. I was stationed back in California. I was stationed in Point Mugu, which is between Camarillo and Oxnard. It's a little naval air weapon station. Okay. So I was there for 3 years. I did some schooling. I did about 3 years worth of college. I did some computer networking. I did some business management, a little bit of that, and then it was time to get out, man.
Is that how you went to trucking?
I was looking for a job. And I didn't know what to do, to be honest with you. What I was doing in the service transitioned to transportation.
It did?
It did. But I wasn't sure where in transportation I wanted to be in. So my stepfather used to drive trucks. My uncle used to drive trucks as well. And they both drove for one of the Cal Cartage family of companies. And my uncle brought me an application. He said, hey, I spoke to the manager in San Diego, and he says he'll interview you. I said, but I don't want to be a trucker, man. I don't want to drive a truck. So he says, no, man, you can dispatch. I didn't know what trucking was. I didn't know how truck drivers got their trucks, how they got to work or anything. So I learned that, they had offices and, you dispatch and you can kind of do office work without driving. So I filled out the application. I went and interviewed with this guy, and I think I impressed him pretty good because he wanted to hire me on the spot.
Mm.
But they didn't have any positions in San Diego, so he offered one in Compton. And mind you, I grew up in East LA. I didn't know any of LA. When I came from Mexico, East LA is the only thing I knew. East LA, maybe Hollywood, downtown LA, and the surrounding areas around LA. But that's all I knew. So when I heard Compton, I heard of rap and crime, and I didn't want to work there either.
Mm-hmm.
But I took the job anyways. We worked out of this little double. Is it double? A double trailer? Dual or double?
It's a trailer, like a
a dual, two wide trailer, I think they call it. Anyways, so worked out of a trailer in this yard, and
like the mobile home looking type,
kind of like
an
a
office,
a mobile trailer.
Yeah,
but it was a dual double. I'm not sure how double wide. I think they call it double wide.
Sounds familiar now.
Anyways, so that's where I started.
Dispatching.
I started as a dispatcher, but I wanted to do customer service.
Which was your favorite driver? Which one paid you the most?
I never took a dollar.
Got him.
I never took a dollar.
Were you offered?
All the time. I think everybody's offered money.
Why do you think they have that mentality that they think they have to buy out a dispatcher? The ones that do.
Because that's where we come from. Where we come from in Mexico and in Salvador, Central America, Guatemala, you buy the law with a little something under the table. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of, it works over there, so people try it here.
Was it awkward after you rejected moving forward?
Awkward? No, I just told the guys that I'd rather they do my work, because if I moved everything I needed to move, I would look better. They didn't need to pay me for what I was doing. The company was already paying me for what I was doing, so I just needed to do a good job so that I could get more money from them instead of from the drivers. And you get money from drivers, your job has an expiration date.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
It's just a matter of when they catch you, and do you want someone having you by the
cojones,
by the gonads? No, you want to be able to. I like to sleep good at night, so no.
What was any interesting memories from dispatching days?
Yeah, man, it was when I first came on. When I was coming through the ranks, I think that the crop of people were very they were go-getters, aggressive people that wanted to be the best at what they did. At least I think I was blessed that when I came into that company, the company was put a good team together, and there was a lot of competition between us. Everybody wanted to be the best dispatcher, and I'm calling everybody dispatchers, but we were all customer service.
Okay.
Back then we were growing so fast that I believe we had one land bridge. This is when China shipping was still in the mix, and China shipping had just come out, and we were doing, I think, 5,000 containers a week of land bridge alone. So the best memory is all the dispatchers and customer service guys competing to see who could move more containers. And we had some pretty rewarding days, man.
Nice.
So the best memories are, just I guess doing our best, bro.
So trucking started there for you then. What was the next step for you on your journey?
Well, I was there for 14 years. I came in not knowing what a chassis was. So I had to come in, I had to learn everything. Every single thing. So I knew nothing. I think they made me a supervisor within like 8 months when I first came. And then I was the operations supervisor about 1.5 years after I came in. So I moved through the ranks pretty quick, and I helped the manager a lot. And within 2 years I was at the company. 2-3 years, I felt like I had reached the top. My manager wasn't going to go anywhere, so I kind of felt like I needed to go somewhere else. I wanted to learn more. I was hungry for knowledge. And then one day this guy calls me and he tells me, hey, I just quit, so good luck, man. I don't know who they're going to bring, but good luck with your new boss. So that day I went home and I told my wife, hey, I always wanted to run this company. I wanted to, be in management, so I'm going to give it a shot. So I asked for the job. I asked for the GM's job, and long story short, they gave me a shot. Long story short, they gave me a shot, and I managed that company for about 10 years. We grew it about 300%. We were at about 100, 105 guys. When I first got it, we were about 105, 100 guys. We grew it to about 306, 310. Multiply the revenue by like 500%. I mean, that was the next step, brother. Not knowing the industry and becoming the GM there was like a huge, huge step. It was very scary, very intimidating. Half the time I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going, Every day I would go home and analyze how my day was.
Oh.
Every single day I had 45 minutes to an hour to go from Long Beach to Santa Fe Springs. And in that route, I went over my entire day, going over everything that happened. And I'm talking about the highlights of the day, like the last 3 days. The drivers are stuck, the cranes are down. How are you going to get 50 last 4 days out? Because at that company, it wasn't 1, 2 last 4 days. It was like 50, 20, 100 last 4 days. We had a lot of work. So I analyzed everything I did on that day so that I was ready for tomorrow. In case that came up, I could react faster. I had a better approach to how to fix a situation. And that was a lot of growing, man. That was a lot of growing. I was given the opportunity to manage the place without having any accounting, any previous management experience. So it was up to me to be the best version of myself. So I realized that I had to work on myself, and analyzing my days at the end of the day is what I think was the core of my success. Knowing what I did that day, whether it was a good day or a bad day, kind of helped record the highlights in my mind, and that helped me. As I don't know, up until today.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask if you took notes or if that was just a daily practice.
It was just a daily practice. It became a habit. So when things happened, we were able, thanks to that, I think I was able to jump on fixing issues before they became before they became one.
Okay. So you started, at the bottom pretty much. Do you think nowadays a lot of people are skipping that part and going straight into grab the bull by the horns? And what's your opinion on that?
Just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know I think that nowadays everybody wants to make the money, and they don't think how they're going to get there. I was lucky and blessed, I guess, because I started dispatching outside, then came into the office, then became CSR, there was 3 supervisors above me. I replaced one, then the second one, then the third one. Then they eliminated 3 guys, and then it was just me. So I went through the process of, I guess, how to properly grow.
Yeah.
When the management opportunity was in front of me, I didn't think I was ready. But it was either then or never. Do I think a lot of people want to get to the top? Yes. Do I know if they're doing it or not? I just think that to answer your question, I think that a lot of people try to think of the result before knowing how to prepare the journey or going through the journey. I can call myself blessed because I guess I went through the process in the right steps, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm responding to your question.
Yeah, in a way, it could help someone out there because maybe they're thinking of starting a company themselves, and they're like, oh, I'll just start my own and learn on my own with my company, starting from scratch, versus, I don't want to say intern because I don't think that's the style out here for Drayage, but versus being like a dispatcher first or, you know.
I think that you have to go through the steps. Well, here's my thing, man. Since I was in the service, I have this mentality where I think that if I'm going to supervise or manage a group of people, I need to know how to do their jobs. Maybe not technically every step of the way, but I have to be able to sit in that person's desk and fill in for that day if need be. I think that knowing the process every single step of the way makes you a better manager, a better leader. I think that if you start from the top and you try to manage people, you're not going to be an effective leader unless you take the time to learn their jobs once you get going. But I think that knowing the jobs of the people that you manage is crucial for you to be able to guide them in the right direction, and for you to know as well that you have the right people on the boat.
Yeah, especially on the accounting side, huh?
Exactly. Exactly, for sure.
All right. So are we close to the part where you say, you know what, it's time for my own thing?
I managed that place about 5-6 years. It was great, man. But yeah, around the 7th year, I was kind of like, what next? You know, what's next? I was all for staying in that company and growing with that company. But I also wondered what it would be like if I started my own. But just like everybody else, I had a million insecurities. Was I prepared? Did I know what I was doing? Was I going to fail? Which is kind of like the second question you think. Am I going to fail? What if I fail? Mm-hmm. And then you think about, what are people going to say, you know? You always worry about what others are going to say. I had the itch of wanting to start my own, but I figured I wasn't ready yet. It wasn't until almost my 14th anniversary, 2 years before my 14th anniversary, where I was ready to move on. I had a conversation with my wife, conversation with my mother, conversation with some people that are close to me, and I was getting paid really well. So people's opinion and advice was, you're making really good money. Why are you going somewhere else and start from scratch when you have this thing going on that is good for you?
That's a tough spot to be in, where outsiders see that value versus your heart and your passion.
Yep.
And they kind of prioritize that one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And it takes me back to the interview I had with that one manager that was running this company. The first manager in trucking that interviewed me, he asked me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I very confidently told him that I wanted to be in his spot, doing what he was doing. Hopefully his job without affecting him, but I told him I wanted his job. So I had already gotten there. So I had already fulfilled that. And it was good money. It was really good money. I never thought I would make over 6 figures. Coming from where I come from, I never thought I could make that much money. So I was comfortable. But in my mind, I knew there's a lot more in there, dude. There's a lot more. I just didn't know what to ask and who to ask. If you don't know what to ask, you don't know who to ask. So I knew I had to give more. I just didn't know which direction to go in. The company starts growing a lot, and it starts getting very corporate. So what happens, Luis, is all of a sudden the drivers, Luis, Juan, Jose, all of a sudden they are associates and owner-operators and drivers. They started to become
numbers,
a file, a number. Mm-hmm. I hate it when I go to the doctor and, I'm patient number 7. It's not Israel, it's not Luis, it's patient number 7. And I hated that. I hated that we were too big to keep it personal. And the company kind of started going one direction, and I was drifting the other way. To make a long story short, we kind of decided that we were, we were at a crossroads, the company and I. So I separated. I took about 6 months, 8 months off completely. It was a really big company, man. 300 plus drivers, extremely stressful. We would move an average of about 2,500 containers a week That's a combination of deliveries and land bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of stress, man. A ton of stress. So I decided to take 6-8 months off. I was good with my money, so I had to learn how to invest in the stock market. So I was buying real estate, renting it. I was investing in the stock market. These guys were paying me good money, man. They were giving me good bonuses. So if you don't work your money, you park it in the bank. It's only gonna make so much, in dividends.
Mm-hmm.
So I started playing with the stock market little by little, and I've been lucky. I was buying properties and renting them and or selling them if I had bad tenants, because it is a headache.
Mm.
It is a headache. And then one day I just said, you know what? I've been doing this for 14 years. Let me try it out. But I had this thing in my head that was really bothering me. I came in knowing nothing. I had no trucking experience, period. So I became the manager of that place. And then I'm gone. I'm no longer there, and I'm thinking about starting my own. But I still have this itch about whether this company gave me the opportunity to manage them just because I was like the only choice, the best choice at the moment. But in my head, was I manager material? So after taking 6 months off, I go ahead and I get this management job at this smaller company. I just wanted to see if I could do it, man, because I didn't go to college. I didn't have prior management experience, no trucking experience. So I just wanted to make sure that, I was that guy. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't by chance that I got to where I got. So I landed this job as a manager. The company turned out, to be, they gave me one vision when they hired me. Once I was on board, it was something completely different. And 90 days later, we're doing our separate things. And that's when I applied for my permits, and that's how GI is born.
Hey, woo.
Yeah, in 2014, November 19th, 2014 is when we moved our first container. Mm-hmm. It was a land bridge container. I didn't have a yard yet. The driver pulls a container, it gets rejected at the ICTF. So it's like midnight. I don't have a yard. I don't know where to take this damn container, man. So I'm calling everybody I know. Hey, can you let me rent one spot? Everybody's yards are full. I called one of my boys. He was a driver. He was an owner operator. He now operates his own company as well. And he was there for me. He allowed me to not just park that container, but park another 5 containers in his yard. And that was day one for GI Logistics, man. It was pretty stressful.
Wow. It seems this industry, no matter how much experience you have, it's always gonna throw little surprises,
It's never the same. It's always something new, man. You plan for A, you end up with Z, man, somehow.
So you covered one of the challenges, starting
Yep.
the company. Do you have any other challenges you faced during the startup days?
Growing pains is, keeping your customers happy so they can give you more volumes, and keeping the drivers happy. So the growing pains to me are being able to grow, bring in drivers to meet the needs of your growth, of your customer. The biggest challenge has been keeping drivers happy, because there's always somebody that is paying more than you. Even though some companies that pay you more, they don't have enough work for you for the week. Mm-hmm. But that's always the flag that I've seen that everybody flies with. Oh, this company pays more, this company pays more.
Yeah.
So it's a tough balance, keeping both customers and drivers happy. But that's drivers is the second biggest challenge.
You ever felt you had to pick between satisfying the customers?
Sometimes you do have to pick, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do what's best for the customer to keep the account, and or sometimes to grow. You're not always going to keep the driver happy. You're not always going to keep the customer happy. But that's the secret of this industry, right? Whoever finds a formula to manage that balance is who's able to stick around. Because you can be as big as you want, man, but if you don't have that good balance with the drivers start leaving you, and you're only so big. You know, you have all the work, but if you don't have drivers, you don't have a company.
At what point do you know if it's a genuine love for the drivers, or if it's like I gotta keep it cool with them, or they're gonna tell me to fuck off? How do you know when it's authentic, the love for the drivers? Because a lot of companies nowadays are like, oh, our drivers are our number one asset, but are they really, or do you say that just because, you know, I mean, generally speaking, people say that just because that's what we want to hear, or?
I think it's a combination.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a combination. One thing I've learned as I own my company now is that it's very hard to keep a driver happy. It's either money or treatment, but the drivers always go for both. Yeah, they might go somewhere else because they're paying better money, but they sometimes come back because they get treated like crap somewhere else. Well, there's some places where they're able to keep guys, and you know that company is not the best paying company. But if they treat the drivers good, if they treat the drivers better, drivers stick around. So you gotta find a balance of what's good enough money, but I think that the treatment to the drivers is key. You can pay the driver $1,000 to go to San Bernardino, but if you treat him like crap every time you talk to him, he's only going to stick around for so long. He's only going to stick around for so long. So I think it's a balance of...
Me, I don't know. They talk dirty to me. I'd send me to give you that money, boy.
The difference between talking dirty and talking smack.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Hey,
Yeah.
And now I got it right where I got to edit this out. Or will I? Raw and uncut, guys.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to add from that journey of building up the company?
The only thing I can say is, if you love what you do, the money will come. If you stay true to the drivers, you will always have drivers. I think it's more important to keep the relationship with the driver first, so that they can help you grow your customer base. You know, relationships with customers are extremely important. Usually you gain business by, you know, chopping it up with someone, talking to someone, breaking bread with someone, going to dinner, going to lunch, spending some time with a person, and then they give you their business. I find it that people like the relationship, the personality, more than what you do for them, kind of. If a guy likes you, he's going to give you his business. Mm-hmm. If a guy doesn't like you,
it's the way it is.
You know, plain and simple. With drivers, you got to treat them right. Drivers, you have to treat them right. Yes, you pay them good, obviously. Mm-hmm. The pay cannot be a question. Yeah. You don't have to be the best paying. You cannot be the worst paying. If you manage to stay in the middle, average, but you treat them good, you got drivers for a while, man. I think.
Yeah.
From what I've learned.
Yeah, we like our respect.
Yep.
Anything you want to speak on? Like, it could be random. Any issue you have on your mind, something bugging you about the industry, or, you know, like a PSA moment right now for Israel.
One thing about the industry, Luis, is that, as I was mentioning to you before we went live, the drivers, the truckers have so much power in this industry, but yet we are the powerless group. You know, the steamship lines, the brokers drive the rates, drive what we do, how we do it. But yet we're the ones that spend the times at the ports getting flipped, waiting for the crane to come back up.
And flipped off.
Getting flipped off, getting cursed at, getting treated like drivers get treated sometimes. I'm not a driver. I've never been in the terminals, but I've heard. I've been on the phone with my guys when someone at the terminals, you know, saying some things that they shouldn't be saying. Mm-hmm. I think that if there was more unity in the industry, and when I say in the industry, I'm talking about the drivers. If there was more unity with the drivers, more ways for us to get together, I think that the drivers would gain a lot more power in the industry, as it should be. As it should be. It shouldn't be based on how much this customer pays me and they drive what it is that I do. Mm-hmm. I think it's more I think the drivers hold the carts. I think that we just need to have more conversations and speak amongst ourselves a little bit more, so that we can get that sentiment out there, and that we just need to speak more. We just need to sit more and discuss more and find those that are willing to make a change in the industry for things to change for the good. Because this industry is driven by customers. At the end of the day, the rates that we get is what drives what the consumer pays out there. So if we're out there paying a lot to move a container, like we were just 6 months ago, the rates were nice. Actually, not 6 months ago. I'm talking about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When the rates got really nice right after COVID or during COVID. Maybe those rates got a little bit astronomical. We all like them, but I think as a business owner, I think that some of them got a little bit astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're paying the price. At the stores, when you go and buy a box of cereal, it's not the same amount of cereal you used to get a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yet it's about $2, $3, $4 more expensive than last year. So we're paying as consumers, but the rates for the truckers aren't sticking. The rates are already going down.
Yeah.
And they're going down because there's not enough work. So what happens when there's not enough work? Everybody lowers their rates. And what happens? We all take the rates. So that is one item that I think is up for discussion. I think that we as truckers have a lot more power than we realize. And I think it's time that we start having those conversations.
Well, I was told a while back that we get what we deserve because the truckers are not willing to unionize. Mm. So if truckers were willing to unionize, would that make us more united, or is that, you think, not the right way? Can it be done without having to be union?
I think it can be done without having to be union. I don't think union is the answer. I think union between the drivers is the answer, but not union as in a labor union. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of times labor unions benefit because they charge a fee. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to the employee needing a lawyer or needing a lawyer 2-3 times, in the same year, I don't think the union is there for you. Yeah. I don't think the union provides the protection that everybody thinks it does. If the drivers were guaranteed good treatment at the ports by the union at the ports, then it would be a huge step in the right direction. But what are the odds of that happening?
Because that's what I was told. They don't respect us because we're like, they called us scabs, I believe. That was the word. But in my opinion, regardless of if you're union or not, or if you're pink or purple, you know what I mean? Or whatever your political party or sexual orientation, I think respect should be like something that is non-negotiable, like.
I think you're 100% correct.
It doesn't give you a green light to disrespect people and treat them like shit because they're not unionized.
I think you're correct, man, but I think it goes into, I don't know why people would respect it because you're union or not, for starters. There's discrimination at the ports because you don't speak the language. There's discrimination because you're not born here. There's a lot of prejudices that don't help or that make the problem worse. But them just generalizing that they don't respect us because we're not union, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's true.
What about you can't respect someone that doesn't respect themselves? And what I mean by that is that sometimes, like us truckers, I just posted something about the way we leave the restrooms, yes. Allegedly, right? Well, I wasn't there to see this person destroy the restroom at this terminal, but that's one example of like how we get that bad reputation.
It's easy to generalize that everybody's dirty, that everybody writes in the restrooms, and because there's nobody to stand up mm-hmm. for the drivers. The drivers always get blamed. Oh, he left the container on wheels. He didn't report it to the truck window. He did this, Just an example. Just an example. How many times when you used to drive, you were told go park on wheels, you park on wheels, and then your company's charging you $100 because you left the container on wheels. Mm-hmm. How many times did that happen to you? It happened a lot of times when I used to dispatch. And I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that. I'm sorry, man. I lost myself with that.
I guess, long story short, we get like pushed around a lot, and then fuck it, it's just the driver. Like, find them.
Yes, we do get pushed around. We don't go back to the trouble window and say, hey, this container was parked on wheels. I mean, everybody, I don't know if we are regarded. I think drivers aren't regarded the way they should be. They've always seen us as being at the bottom of the totem pole, and I think that the lack of unity is what keeps us there. When we start showing that we hold some cards in the game, that we are stakeholders as well, it's, I think, when the other institutions will start respecting us.
What's taking so long, dude? I mean, this has been going on for a while, enough to where like anyone with common sense would have figured out that's the case. Then why not act on it?
Because
why has none of this worked? Because I'm going on this shit almost 10 years. You're right. There's also a bunch of other organizations. There's a lot of other things going on. Why is trucking still shitty when it comes to respect for the drivers? Because
they need more information, and I think that you are making a change. Containeroz is making a change. A year and a half ago, you only had about 15,000 followers. Right now, you're above 50, 70,000 followers. People like your material. People like information. Why things haven't changed? Because maybe you're not loud enough. When you first came out, I was like, man, a owner operator that is out there representing the drivers, it's kind of cool. You know, you started taking off 100 followers, then 1,500, then 5,000. I mean, I've seen how you've grown in such small period of time. Why is it taking so long? Because we need to change our culture. We need, number one, we need to erase the line between the people that are born here, and the truckers that are born here, and the truckers that come from abroad. It's the same group. So the amount of information that's out there for the drivers is number one. We're not informed. Truckers are the ones that find out last. Yeah. Look at what happened with AB5.
Exactly.
We found out when the courts come out and they say, hey, this is law. All of a sudden, everybody's out there protesting. Everybody was out there the first day.
When it's law.
When it's already too late. Mm-hmm. But even then, we get out there the first day. Second day, 50% of the people. By the fourth day, there was a handful of you and us. I was out there passing food to mm-hmm. the lines. Mm-hmm. By the fourth day, it was like it wasn't even a demonstration. It was absolutely nothing. Why is it taking so long? Because there's not enough information. The drivers feel that nobody backs them up. They feel that they don't have a voice. I own a trucking company. A lot of trucking companies are seen as the enemy sometimes. They don't pay us enough. They step on us, blah, blah, blah. But that's the resentment of the drivers because that's what happens to them every day at the ports. I'm not going to say that all trucking companies are pro-drivers. I like to think that I am pro-drivers. But I'm only one, and I'm a small trucking company. But you know what? I will continue to do what I do. Somebody else will see what we're doing. And things are bound to change eventually. But people need to know that we're out there. Truckers like us are out there. People like you are out there giving out information. And I think it's just lack of information. I really do think that it's just lack of information. But once we wake up, I'm telling you, we own the cards in this industry. About between 30 and 40% of the products that come into the U.S. come to California. If you get half of us truck drivers on the same page, and all these small truckers, small trucking companies, back their drivers up like they should, the game changes.
But then it gets political. There's always going to be someone that wants to step in and organize.
It gets political.
Organize them.
When you let the big trucking companies come in and take charge. They have a bigger stake. A lot of times the little guys, we let the big guys talk, but the big guys talk are in with the ports, are in with the terminals. Whoever's running that trucking company might be someone that used to be with a steamship line or with the port, and that's where things get lost. We forget that the driver is the one that matters in this whole thing. You got drivers, and you have containers. Those are the two most important things in the game. We come second. We come second. So when we realize how much power we hold, but we actually unite, talk, and work for a common goal versus let me just sell out right now that I'm on top. Let me take advantage. Let me just cash in while I can. We might not be able to see the fruits of our work, but the people that are coming behind us might. And that's what people before us did, man. You know, so a lot of times we don't follow something through because we get greedy. We're not going to see the fruits of our efforts. Why do it for somebody else that doesn't care? We got to change that mentality in our not only in our industry but within our culture, within the Latino community. It's that is so present. You know, the envidia, the greediness, the let me cash in before somebody else does, or somebody else is going to cash in. Why don't I do myself? And I think that we need to be a little bit less greedy. But we need leadership. We need people that can talk, that have vision, that people follow. It's a few things have to come
together, like a little combination.
Yes,
recipe
for us to realize how much power we have, man. I'm telling you, we have.
I fucking know we do.
We have so much power as drivers. We just gotta let and show others. Yeah. But it's like I was telling you before the show. It's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of getting the information out there. Yeah. Containeroz didn't exist. How long have you been doing this?
Since 2014, like in August.
2014, so you've been...
Just started with some stickers in a Facebook group.
There you go.
And 9 years. Little by little, more people ask for the stickers. It's like having the sticker is like being a member in a way. You know, it's like a code, like an unofficial membership. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we're not a union, and we're not like... I would say we're more like an unofficial club. I think that's one thing I've been kind of... You might want to... I don't know what word to describe it. Maybe uncertain or like... a simple word would be like confused, I guess. Like, what are we? You know? But I feel like the minute I put like a label on it, it kind of loses its power to be whatever it needs to be when the time comes. You know? So I feel like right now it's just like water. Like, okay, this came up. Let's tackle this. But I do definitely admit I gotta put some more thought into it. Lately I've had a lot of like personal stuff mentally, like just me as a person, like growing and being aware of some things and wanting to like, as you know, cliche or whatever you want to call it as it sounds, like find myself. I'm 36 now, but like I know I have a expiration date, you know, and I want to make an impact, but it's like also I'm human, you know. I also fear failure. I fear not leaving some kind of legacy for my family. I also fear like just losing what I'm building, or so much so that sometimes I've sabotaged things in my life to
you sabotage yourself.
Yeah. So maybe it doesn't feel like it'll hurt as bad if I fail. Like, oh yeah, I chose to do it. Yeah. Versus trying something and failing, that would hurt more probably. But, and that's probably sounds very shitty, but once again, I'm human, so I just want to figure it out, you know? And I know that once I do, like, that'll be it, you know? I think it's like you're just in the ocean and you got this powerful ship, and it's like, motherfucker, just pick which way you're going to go already.
You're finding a waypoint.
You know what I mean?
Find a waypoint, yeah.
And you want to know that wherever you land, it's going to be the most beneficial to all the nodes within your life structure, you know? Family, strangers, humanity in general, the industry. Is there a way to tie that all together? Just being real. Yeah. I'm not like some...
Well, before you, there was no place where we could go and figure out how the terminals are doing real time. We had to log on to the website with other cameras and kind of like gauge how things are based on what the camera can see. Yeah. But what about where the cameras can't see and the line's still going a mile, 2 miles. So with you,
Mm-hmm.
now we have vision of how long the lines really are, where the inspections are, where the traffic is. I think that you've brought a point of a source of information for everyone that follows you, and I think that that's why you've become so popular, because the information you put out is, number one, real time. It's coming from your followers, and I think you're just gonna get better, man. It's just a matter of figuring out the organization of how you want this to be.
And develop that thick skin, because I wish I could trade places with some people and they can get a taste of it. Like sometimes you take some shit sometimes too, right? And you gotta just keep going, and it's like not take things personal, because if you favor something, you're always gonna get resistance from what you disfavor, obviously, right? So elegir es renunciar in a way. So it comes with the turf, I guess. But now I feel like I'm just not negatively saying it, but in it too deep to just be like, oh, that's it, you know? Like we made it this far, so let's hope that God guides us to whatever's best, you know, let it happen, man, because I'm just a human, and if anything extraordinary happens, it ain't gonna be through me, it's gonna be through my guides and, you know, God helping me. Like, I honestly don't see what way I can, you know, catapult to some kind of...
I think you're there, man. I think you're there. I mean, you're doing what we all do with life. You know, we just kind of running with it and figuring out as we go through it. It's called the journey.
What was that quote you said earlier?
Life's a journey, and you learn it when you're through.
Yeah, we try too hard to figure it out sometimes. That it kind of like paralysis by analysis.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
All right, so moving on. Is this the worst you've seen in drayage since you've started?
Probably. I don't want to say that it's the worst, but it ranks up there with the worst. I mean, we as a company are operating at, I would say, 20-30% of what we usually operate on. Yeah, we're hit pretty hard.
Shit.
We don't own a warehouse, so we're not like other truckers that also, you know, do logistics. You know, they do
extra legs.
They do warehousing, so they have their base or their core work, and they rely on other extra accounts to fill in the gaps. I rely 100% on trucking, 100%. So we're hit pretty hard. Luckily, I have some loyal customers. I have some good customers. I actually gained a couple of new accounts that are kicking in a couple of months.
Nice.
But it's been a struggle since June. We've been operating at 25%. So revenue-wise, we're not making enough to pay the bills. We're actually bleeding a little bit of money. But you mentioned on a post a few weeks back, and you said, you know, the ones that are going to survive are the ones that will figure it out, you know, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing sometimes, you know. I really don't. I mean, this is my very first business.
Yeah.
I learned that ever since my mom left when I was 5 years old. You know, I had to figure it out, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to figure it out. Is it the worst? It's probably the worst. I feel lost sometimes, you know, but we will look back 6 months from now, a year from now. We will see what we could have done better.
Well, this is great that you share that. That's kind of being very transparent, because that could help someone out there like starting up and going through it and thinking, beating themselves up, thinking that, oh, it's me, I suck, or something, I'm not doing something right, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
Coming from someone that's already been in the industry a while and had his company for a while, had a taste of success, and even you saying that, it's obviously not just them, you know? So it gives hope that, hey, this is something we're all going through. We're in it together. Yeah. And like that post, you know, the ones that make it through this test will be the ones to reap the rewards of what's left and when it comes back up.
You know, when COVID, this is just a side comment. When COVID hit, we started seeing on TV that everybody says, we're in it together, we're in it together, we're in it together. And I feel alone through this, man. You know, everybody says we're in it together, but nobody's come to me.
But stay your ass 6 feet away, though.
Right. We're in it together. But stay 6 feet away from me. Exactly. That's exactly how this has been. We're in it together, but we're not in it together. You know, you gotta.
Did you use sanitizer on the way in here? By the way.
Yes, I did.
No hands.
I washed my hands actually. We've struggled. Like when Trump started the tax war with China, that the volumes dropped drastically. We were hit pretty hard as well. I think in my industry, man, you asked me about my journey. I've had to put money after I started. I think in the 5th year, I had to put some money in to the company to kind of keep us afloat. When the volumes kind of dried out, when our taxes to China were through the roof.
Okay.
But I figured, okay, look, do I walk away from 5 years of hard work, or do I put some more money into this to survive this 6 months, this year, and see what next year brings? Obviously, I had to make an educated decision.
Yeah.
I called some of my customers. I asked for some projections. I asked for kind of like the pulse of what was going on from their side. And I saw that it was worth it for me to put some money into the company. I put some money into the company, then COVID hits. And COVID was a blessing for us because we were busy, boy. I mean, we were busy. I think I put in about $200K into my company from my retirement, from my investments. And
that's a lot of faith in yourself.
That's a lot of faith in myself, not knowing what the hell I was doing. Yeah. But you know what? Again, we go back to, if you believe in what you're doing, if you believe in your mission. I mean, did Steve Jobs know what he was doing when he was doing it? Did Einstein know what he was doing when he was doing it? You know, they found out later that, hey, this is the right thing. And I'm not obviously comparing myself to them at all, but sometimes you just have to trust your gut. You know, you can educate yourself in all the aspects of what you're about to do, but you know that following your gut also plays a little bit into your decisions. And I did, and it paid out. It paid out. We made enough money to where we're surviving this right now. You know, we're not making money, but we're not, you know, we're losing a little bit of money, but we're there. We're surviving
The risk you took then saved you from this situation.
The risk I took then helped me put money away so that I could survive this. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you're doing one thing, you don't know what you're working towards. You know, I didn't know I was working towards this. You know, 5 years later, 4 years later, you know, it was going to hit us even harder, and I was going to have enough money to survive through this, which is a blessing in disguise, you know.
Mm-hmm. With this experience, do you feel now you want to have an extra set of income, maybe pursue warehousing or anything else, or you're just going to double down on building the trucking only side?
No, warehousing has always been something that I want to do. I have a customer that owns a warehouse, and I kind of market myself as owning a warehouse because I work pretty much for them. Okay. And if I do need warehousing, I mean, they're there at my disposal as well. So, but I do want to own my own. And I want to branch out into other industries. Kind of.
We may have covered a little bit of this, but what's the biggest challenge, running a drayage company, in your opinion? There's many, right? But
you have to have thick skin. And you can't take this. You got to take this job personal to become successful. But you can't take things people say personal.
For example,
people, you know, we all have bad days. We were talking about the union and how the drivers get treated at the ports. You know, a driver's having a bad day. You're having a really bad day. Driver calls you all upset, screaming at you. He wants to drop his load. He's been waiting 5 hours, and there's no end to his waiting for the day. He knows he's not going to make any money. And you got to convince him to stay somehow, some way. Even though you might be having the crappiest day ever, you got to convince this dude that, hey, please help me. Help me take care of the customer. We take care of the customer, he's going to take care of us when things are slow, you know?
We can't take care of you without a customer.
We can't take care of you without a customer, but I can't take care of the customer without you either. So the driver has to understand how important he is in the equation. The biggest challenge is, again, having that good relationship with the driver that believes you, trusts you or your dispatcher, to know that, hey, today he's not going to make money. He might not even pull this load. It might turn into a freaking $100 dry run, or whatever hours of waiting time. You don't make money in waiting time. You make money moving loads. So the hardest, the toughest is being able to manage the driver, to handle the driver. But you gotta have thick skin. When the customer is calling you, ripping on you about your trucking sucks and you're late and you're the worst trucker you've ever had. You can't take those things personal, because you don't control what goes on at the ports.
They are disconnected, a lot of them, right? They think you just go in there. Oh, yes. There's my can. Let me go.
But it's your job as a company.
Yeah.
It's your job as a company to give them a little insight of what the driver, not what you go through, but what the driver goes through, what he's got to put up with in order to get that hot container out.
Tell him to follow the page.
I will.
So overall, this could be life. This could be personal. This could be business.
Yes.
Relationship.
Yes.
What's been the toughest thing you've had to go through? And I mean, you went through it, right? Obviously, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but the toughest thing you went through, and how did you get out of that situation?
The toughest thing I went through, Luis, was crossing the border to come to the U.S. Right before I crossed, there was no... Well, nowadays you see the signs on the 5 freeway when you approach the border, and you see the family, the man, the woman, and the little kid, with the legs flying. Because people cross.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I crossed the freeway. I crossed the 5 freeway, and we stopped halfway through. And I recall, I was 13 years old. I recall these 2 cars flying by us, Everybody down, closer to the border doesn't drive 55. They drive a lot faster. And it was me and some other people, and we're like in the white lines, in the dividing lines, and 2 cars go by. Both of them at the same time, and they shook the hell out of us. That was scary for a 13-year-old to be in an open road like that.
So you're in the middle of your attempt at crossing
the freeway,
and these cars are active. They're going through. So you could have got hit. You were already halfway, and you got a taste of those 2 cars.
Yes.
That's how fast they were coming, that you didn't perceive them. Like,
no, we perceived them, but I mean, you go one line and you stop, another line and you stop, and it's because there's constant traffic and you got to cross.
How many lanes was it around there?
I think it was 8 lane back then. Back in '86, it was 8 lanes.
8 lanes. Damn.
Four each way.
Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay.
You're thinking of regular road.
Yeah.
Well, that was the hardest thing, man.
All of it.
That was the hardest thing. And every time I've come across a challenge in my life, I remember being that little kid.
And at that age, already doing
crossing,
some big
at
ball
that
shit.
age, at that age, crossing that border, dude. And I know people make fun of it, and nobody wants to be related to someone that's an immigrant, or they call you all kinds of names and whatever, and you got to go through the shame of not being from here, or not knowing the language, or being a wetback, or being this or being that. But that's never faced me. That's never faced me. Coming across a challenge and remembering that day, that night, when I'm crossing the freeway, just to have the opportunity that anybody that's born here has. I mean, I had to earn my spot here. I had to earn my spot, to be in this country, man. So that's the toughest for me. That's one of the toughest.
Wow, that sounds for that. Yeah, that's a lot. Like, committed to make it, that you put your life on the line. 8 lanes.
You kind of have to.
I mean, you made it past that, so I guess anything else, it's like just those cars passing by. Eventually, you make it through.
A little bit. If I would have gotten in my head when we were in traffic in the middle of the freeway, you panic, you run, you get run over, but you kind of stay calm and just kind of look around you and assess the situation, and that's pretty much what we did, bro. I mean, it sounds all intricate. You're just crossing a road, but I'm crossing into another country, dude. I mean, my mind is at 1,000,000 thoughts a second.
That's like the moment. That's the finish line, you know?
Yes.
And this is happening at night, or
this is at night. This is at night. This is pitch black. This is at night. You cross the border when it's dark, bro.
Yeah, that's a stupid question. Yeah. Wow. I'm still impressed by that. Just the way you described it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of us we take shit for granted here, like so it's nice to know those what some people go through to get what we sometimes feel it's not enough, but to them it's everything.
I had to earn my right to be here. I had to earn being able to get a driver's license. I had to earn the right to be able to join the service. Like there's a lot of things I had to earn to be just a regular citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like what we're going through right now, it's a challenge, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it, man.
Yeah.
We'll
Thanks
get through
for
it.
sharing that.
Yeah, man.
If you were not trucking, what would you do? Do you think is your
Probably flying airplanes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You have the qualifications with vision? They're very strict on those 20/20, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I don't know if they're still that strict with how far technology has come. I really do not know.
Oh.
I don't know enough about the industry, but I would have loved to do that.
What Black Hawk, a fighter jet.
Well, I went in the Navy, wanted to be an airplane pilot. I actually got selected or invited to apply for officer school. It's called OCS. But when I was offered the opportunity by the CNO, which is the Chief of Naval Operations, being a citizen was one of the requirements, and I wasn't then. I was just a legal resident.
Mm-hmm.
The military helped me get my citizenship. But once I got the citizenship, I needed to re-up 9 more years in the Navy. They were going to give me free school, flight school, university 4 years, flight school, I believe a year, and then officer training, which was like 6 months, 8 months. But anyways, I was going to be, I think, 34, 35 by the time I got out of the service, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit too old.
Hey, man, I'm 36.
I know. But I figured, I'm getting out of the service, and I'm competing with all the college kids, and I felt that was going to be a little bit too old to be able to compete with that level.
Okay.
So I figured I'd get out and, get out younger and do something in the civilian life where I figured, well, I was pretty sure, I had a hunch, man, that I was going to do better, and God has looked out for me. That the cards have aligned for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Top Gun. Any advice for 18-year-old Israel?
Whew. Advice for 18-year-old Israel is, at 18, I was lost, believe it or not. I had a low self-esteem. I was depressed, I think. There was a lot going on in my personal life at home that put me in that spot. That's one of the reasons why I left to go in the service. The only advice I would give him is stay the course, man. Believe it or not, you kind of know what you're doing. Just stay the course. Follow your gut.
Patience goes a long way, huh?
Yeah, and patience. Time will tell, dude. Everybody's impatient. We all want results right away, but time will tell. Time brings out the truth. Time takes care of everything, man.
That's all you would tell him? Okay.
Now you make me feel awkward. Like, I feel like I should tell myself a little more.
No. Just me being me. Well, okay, advice for others trying to make it in Drayage.
Advice for others trying to make it in Drayage. Again, man, stay the course. Educate yourself. Follow your gut, but do stay informed. Do talk to people. Do stay close with your customers. I mean, if you want to stay in Drayage and continue in Drayage, you got to have a good relationship with your customers. You have to have a good relationship with your customers because one customer refers you to another. Just the way you should have a good relationship with the drivers, because without drivers, if you don't drive, you don't have a trucking company. Like myself, I never drove, so you got to have a good relationship with the drivers.
Okay, one more thing. If you could, if I gave you superpowers or whatever, magic wand, and you can go to change one thing at terminals, what would that be?
The turn times?
The turn times.
Turn times at the terminals.
Why do you think they're not as good as you would want them to be?
This is just my opinion. I don't work at the terminals, but I believe that the port workers stagger the work to give themselves 5 days worth of work, especially when we're slow. It's funny how the turn times when it's slow don't change much from when it's really busy. Sometimes, it's slow, and when you're really busy, the terminal's extremely congested, you average 3 hours to get out of the terminal. When it's really slow, sometimes you average 3 hours to get out of the terminal. You wonder why. They're not doing the same amount of turns. Why is it taking me this long? You get a good chassis, get flipped, go to the outgate, and in Roto, they turn you around because a tire looks like it needs to be swapped. There's no mechanics to help you out, so they turn you around and then go make you flip the container again. How many times did you have to do to flip a good container? I mean, a container that was on good chassis. I think that they stagger the work a little bit. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I cannot prove it, but...
Yeah. I've been told that they show up based on how many they order of them, so that the terminal is to blame because they order less manpower. So I guess that explains your curiosity of why a busy day is still 3 hours turn time versus a slow day it's still 3 hours turn time, because it's proportional to the amount of work they have, the amount of labor they order. So it's like a profitable business, right?
And
so
they make that decision based on their profits, not on terminal, not on terminal performance. Let's take care of these guys and let's clean up the terminal. Versus, you know what? I don't want to spend that much money because we don't have that many volumes coming through. It's either the terminal and the terminal workers staggering the work. Whether it's the terminal or it's the I don't want to say the union employees, but they're the ones that drive the cranes and service you. So
why do you feel that topic is so obscure as far as getting knowledge about it? Like, why is there so much stuff left in the dark? Like,
because everybody's afraid to talk, dude.
Why can't we know exactly what's going on? Like,
invite somebody from that works at the terminal to come and talk.
There's some that come on or that are willing to come on, but they don't because they can't.
They don't want to speak freely.
They can't talk about that. Even if it helps us understand.
There's your answer.
So that we're not in conflict.
There's your answer.
Because if sharing certain information puts us at the drivers with them be like, oh, now we understand, okay. But that information is not shared willingly because...
I'm going to say this, and it might not be a popular comment, but look, the people that have the power to, or the relationships to work with the terminals, ever since I came into the industry, which was back in 2000, I always hear the terminals say, oh yeah, we're going to work on the turn times. We're working on the wheel situation. We're working on this, we're working on that. And I hear the same responses that I heard back in 2000. They're always working on the problem. They're always working on the issue. They're going to look into it. But it's always the same thing. That if the terminal is not going to do 20,000 turns today because the volumes aren't there, they're only going to do 500. Instead of bringing, let's just say, 100 workers, they're going to bring 2. Shouldn't they bring 10 so they can get the drivers there a lot quicker? Why do we have to have 2 shifts? If there's not enough volumes, why don't we just have 1 shift and just service the hell out of everybody in 1 shift? You're going to spend the same amount of money whether you have 1 turn or 2 turns, 1 shift or 2 shifts, with with skeleton crew on the day side, skeleton crew on the night side. Why don't you just bring a full crew for 1 shift and service everybody? Everybody would be happy.
Well, what are we missing?
You tell me. I don't know. But if I worked at a terminal, I would try other things just to see their work. I just don't think that they're working on the problem. Why? That's just the big why. I really don't know. And I don't understand enough. I
think we just got to know whose toes we step on when certain modifications are made. And then that can lead to the solution.
I think that it's all about money. It's all about how much is the money going to, how much the terminal is going to make today. And that's the amount of workers that they allocate to the issue. They're not working at fixing the issue. They're just looking at dollars, pluses or minuses. That's it.
There's really not much profits in efficiencies, right, when it comes to that.
No.
If you think about storage fees and missed appointments, last 3 days, all that.
I mean, some terminals are very friendly. They work with us. Like I have a lot of terminals that push the last 4 days if they're congested. They exempt appointments for us. They do a lot for us, but that's the relationship we as a trucker have with the terminal. Some terminals are like, you know what, you missed your appointment, it's on you. There's no wheels, it's not my problem. Um, they're gonna make money charging demurrage regardless. So some of them don't care, and they are blunt about it. They flat out don't care. Why do they get away with it? Because nobody says anything. People have a platform to put things on the table, and they don't want to ruin the relationship with XYZ terminal. I mean, the terminal's got to do their job regardless. They're not doing you a favor by servicing you. They're doing their customer a favor, which the customer's paying for that service. They act as if they're helping us. They're not helping us. We're both servicing a mutual customer. But we talk terminals and we talk ports, and we kind of act as if we gotta walk on eggshells.
Why is that? I feel that's been the biggest delay in expediting change because of the whole political correctness bullshit.
I guess because of the ass kissers, bro. I've never understood. I mean, if I'm a big trucker, if I own 200-300 trucks,
saying the wrong thing
can get you banned, can get you spanked in the hand. And should it be that way? It's just an example on how the terminals run the business.
Mm-hmm. You don't fear any of that coming on here? And do you think other companies give that some thought, and is why
I think so,
politely decline the offer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
What is there to fear though in reality? Like
money. You don't make enough money. You're gonna miss out on an account because you said something that's wrong. But I'll tell you what, dude. If you don't stick out for the driver turn times, the customer doesn't benefit. And if the customer's paying me to deliver that freight, I am going to do everything I can to deliver that piece of freight on time. If the terminal is a reason why I'm not able to perform, I am going to let my customer know that the terminal is the reason why we are 3 hours late every day, or we delay in the amount of volumes that we can deliver. Yeah, it has to do with our capacity as well, depending on the volume.
But you don't want to take the blame for something that
But I'm not
out
taking
of your
the blame
control.
that exactly, 100%.
Okay.
But people are afraid to say the terminal this or the terminal that because they don't want to upset their contacts at the terminal, which if we truly want to help the industry move forward, we have to hear the things that we don't want to hear. But you need people to use these platforms to put them on the spot and have the terminals explain why the long turn times. Why hear from a terminal, from a crane operator, explain the long turn times. I know they can't say everything, but honestly, no one's going to give us an answer. If it's not them, we're never going to know the truth.
And we're just left to assume.
We're left to assume.
Which kind of sucks sometimes.
A little bit, yep.
All right. We're at the end of this as far as my list goes. Do you have anything you would like to add?
We could sit here and talk, for a couple more hours, man. I just want to thank you for the invitation. It was my first podcast ever.
You did great.
Really? Thanks. I was a little bit nervous. I just wanted to come here, man, and be upfront and be black and white. Give you my opinion. I know I might ruffle some feathers. I have in the past. I don't care. But I think that if you are given the opportunity to speak at a platform that has a lot of ears and eyes, I think you need to say how things are. You need to speak how things are. You need to bring up the issues. And I think that we need visibility on terminal turn times. We need visibility on driver treatment. And we need visibility on rates, which are, and driver unity. Those things are at the core of the issues that we face. And I think that if you continue with this platform, I think that it's going to get big enough, man, to where drivers actually earn a voice, and we can actually hopefully make a difference down the road. We might not, like I told you earlier, we might not be able to see the fruits of what you're trying to do, but I think you're in the right direction, man. And I think that, like I said, back in 2000, we didn't have this visibility. There was a lockout, I believe, when was the big lockout? There was a lockout in 2008, but I think there was one in 2002 or 2003. And there was nowhere to get information other than the news. Internet was still, fresh. When AB5 happened, we knew what was going on thanks to your platform and some of the others that were sharing. But you were one of the biggest ones out there. And I think that thanks to you, everybody, not only in California, was able to stay informed, but the country was seeing what was going on in California. Unfortunately,
it died out too soon, but it was beautiful to see.
It died out too soon. You saw the amount of drivers that were out there.
Yeah,
if we would have done that 2, 3, 4, that entire week, I think the industry would have taken notice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it would have changed things, but it would have taken notice. By Wednesday, there was like 10% of us out there, man. There was 10% of us out there, and by Thursday, Friday, it was a done deal. The medium size, the big companies were already drained, and
once again,
that's another topic.
Once again, getting laughed at for an unsuccessful attempt.
Burning bridges that we're trying to build, bro. That's my thing. We were trying to build a bridge, and by getting out there and working by Wednesday, Thursday, we burned all those bridges that we were trying to build. And again, we're set back. Set back another how many years until, people actually start hearing voices like yours and actually. I'm not talking about causing chaos, man, but giving the driver's voice, a voice where the drivers have a say so in this whole thing,
Yeah, no need for chaos. I think with the proper knowledge and knowing the purpose of, with the end desire, that could have been done with everyone just simply not showing up.
Yep.
We don't need to have the visuals to get the result.
Exactly.
It's crazy but it's just that somehow doing it that way, there's accountability. Like, look, you see me out here. I'm out here. I'm part of it. I'm supporting. When you see my truck rolling, that's me. I helped. Versus like in the shadows, you could still have a big impact. Not even showing up, you won't get the clout, or you won't get the, you know what I mean. You won't make it on the news.
Yeah.
But if you're really about it, it doesn't matter how you get it across. Just
as long as you mean the end goal, yes.
Mm-hmm. What you do when no one's looking and what actions you take then, those are the ones that really count. So, we'll see where this goes, man. I thank you so much for your time and that burrito you brought. That was epic. I recommend it. If you ever open a restaurant, I'll be sure to. That'll be one of my spots because I really enjoyed that. It was delicious. So thank you for that.
We are gonna open up a restaurant. I'll keep you in the loop, man.
Let me know.
Keep in the loop.
Órale pues, so anything else you want to add?
No, man.
Going once? Going twice?
Thanks a lot for the invite. Again, bro, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks a lot for the invite. I enjoyed it. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you can get people that can come be here and
speak up.
Truly speak their mind, dude. And hopefully we can get some drivers, not to unionize, but some drivers to come together.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a unique existence, a unique structure.
It'll be different.
Of course.
It'll be scary for a lot of people, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's why you need good leadership. You need good leadership, guiding this big force, because it can be a huge force, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you once again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks a lot, Luis.
Peace.
Thank you.